dalam keadaan sehat dan pastinya selalu penuh semangat. Sore ini kita berjumpa lagi dalam acara Forum Desain IAI Banten yang ke-6 dan masih bertema urban. Sebelumnya, kami IAI Banten mengucapkan terima kasih atas kehadiran rekan-rekan semua yang sudah join dalam Zoom sore ini, terlebih untuk support yang luar biasa dalam setiap acara yang IAI Banten selenggarakan. Nah, rekan-rekan yang hadir sore ini, apakah semuanya sudah pernah mengikuti forum desain dari yang pertama? Atau ada sebagian dari rekan-rekan yang baru saja join sore ini? Nah, bagi rekan-rekan yang baru saja join sore ini, saya akan sedikit flashback. IAI Banten sudah menyelenggarakan 5 forum desain. Yang pertama diselenggarakan di bulan April berjudul Recognizing Healthy Houses. Kemudian di bulan Mei ada forum desain kedua berjudul Mendesain Masjid dan forum desain yang ketiga berjudul Revitalisasi Masjid Istiqlal. Kemudian di bulan Juni ada forum desain yang keempat berjudul Masa Depan Ruang Terbuka Kita, lalu forum desain yang kelima Placemaking dan Resiliensi Komunitas. Bagi rekan-rekan yang terlewat atau belum sempat mengikuti forum desain 1-5, silahkan rekan-rekan dapat melihat kembali di YouTube IAI Banten, dan tentunya kami mohon support-nya untuk subscribe ya. Terima kasih. Acara forum desain yang ke-6 sore ini berjudul Approaches to Co-Create and Regenerated Urbanscape. Acara akan dipandu oleh moderator Mbak Tatyana Kusumo dari Ketua Bidang Pendidikan Pengurus IAI Banten, dengan narasumber Mr. Yossapon Boonson dari SHMA Design Bangkok, Thailand. Sebelum memulai acara forum desain ini, perkenalkan nama saya Nindya Maisa Putri, dan sore ini saya akan bertugas sebagai MC. Pertama-tama, saya akan membacakan tata cara untuk mengikuti forum desain sore ini. Yang pertama, silahkan sesuaikan nama lengkap pada profil Zoom Anda saat ini, dengan pendaftaran di awal ketika mengisi form registrasi, serta memastikan ya bahwa mikrofon Anda itu dalam keadaan mati pada Zoom selama acara berlangsung. Yang kedua, semua peserta di Zoom pada 1 jam pertama dimohon untuk menampilkan kamera selama acara berlangsung untuk keperluan dokumentasi di media sosial IAI Banten. Rekan-rekan jangan lupa follow Facebook dan Instagram IAI Banten juga ya. Yang ketiga, mohon pantau chatboard Zoom atau chat live streaming YouTube Anda, karena akan ada link presensi yang diberikan oleh host untuk dilengkapi peserta yang hadir. Akan meng-capture diri Anda sebagai bentuk kehadiran Anda pada Zoom atau live streaming YouTube dan mengupload pada link tersebut. Yang keempat, bila ada kendala teknis dan pertanyaan lebih lanjut, dapat menghubungi nomor official IAI Banten di 0821 1281 3745. Yang kelima, mohon menjaga tata tertib selama kegiatan ini berlangsung karena kami siarkan juga atau live streaming di YouTube IAI Banten, sehingga nantinya dapat teman-teman lihat kembali setelah acara berakhir. Selanjutnya, untuk tata aturan mengajukan pertanyaan adalah sebagai berikut. Yang pertama, mengajukan raise hand pada bagian partisipan pada layar Zoom Anda. Dan untuk yang di YouTube, silakan ketik di chat live YouTube IAI Banten ketika sesi pertanyaan dibuka oleh moderator. Yang kedua, satu peserta dipersilakan mengajukan 1 kalimat tanya. Jika lebih, pertanyaan tidak wajib dijawab oleh narasumber. Pertanyaan dibatasi 3 pertanyaan per sesi. Yang ketiga, peserta dapat mulai mengajukan pertanyaan setelah dipersilakan berbicara oleh moderator. Demikianlah tata aturan yang telah dibacakan untuk dapat dipahami bersama-sama. Sebelum kita memulai forum desain ini, saya mewakili segenap pengurus IAI Banten mengajak untuk bersama-sama kita hening sejenak untuk berdoa sekaligus bersyukur, berdoa bagi kondisi tanah air dari pandemik yang sedang mewabah di dunia agar lekas berlalu dan kita semua dapat beraktivitas kembali dan beradaptasi dengan keadaan. Tidak lupa pula kita mengucap syukur atas kesempatan ini, kita dapat tetap berkarya dari rumah, mendoakan pula para tenaga medis yang masih harus berjuang untuk membantu merawat pasien hingga saat ini. Mari kita hening sejenak, hening dimulai. Hening, selesai. Rekan-rekan, selama acara berlangsung, mohon tetap mengaktifkan kameranya hingga akhir acara karena nanti kita ada sesi foto bersama. Sebelum kita mulai acara, kami persilahkan kepada Bang Bilian, Wakil Ketua 3 IAI Banten untuk menyampaikan sambutan dalam rangka penutupan acara Forum Desain Urban Trilogy. Silahkan Bang Bilian.
Ya, terima kasih Mbak Nindya yang bertugas sebagai MC hari ini, sangat setia sekali. Oke,
Ya, Pak.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kepada seluruh peserta yang hadir pada hari ini. Puji syukur kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Tuhan Semesta Alam yang memberikan kita hikmat sehat tentunya, sehingga kita bisa berkumpul dalam acara webinar persembahan dari rekan-rekan IAI Banten guna sebagai wadah untuk kita dapat berdiskusi, dapat berbincang bersama untuk berbagi ilmu, informasi, dan wawasan. Dalam kesempatan ini saya mewakili rekan-rekan IAI Banten sedikit banyak ingin memberitahukan bahwa selain Fordes ini juga kami dari IAI Banten juga mempunyai acara-acara unggulan selama masa COVID ini via aplikasi Zoom, webinar. Yang pertama ada forum desain arsitektur, lalu juga kita punya program santai ngopi sore yang membahas obrolan-obrolan santai yang berkaitan dengan arsitektur dan keilmuan lainnya. Terus kita ada ngabuburit ini adalah acara khusus sebenarnya untuk bulan Ramadan. Selain itu kami juga punya acara di bulan Juli, nanti ada acara untuk edukasi dan keprofesian, yaitu strata 1 dan 2 termasuk strata 3 dan 4 yang akan dilaksanakan di tanggal 4-5 Juli tahun 2020. Selain itu kami juga di bulan ini melakukan kerjasama event webinar dengan Ikatan Alumni Arsitektur IT untuk bangunan publik dengan tema waktu itu kita punya tema redefinisi dimensi ruang dalam arsitektur, cukup menarik. Kemudian tidak panjang lebar, sekali lagi saya mewakili pengurus IAI Banten mengucapkan terima kasih pertama kepada seluruh narasumber yang telah bersedia membagikan waktu, membagi ilmu dan wawasannya. Terus juga kami memberikan terima kasih kepada seluruh peserta yang turut berpartisipasi, memberikan atensi selama acara, baik yang mengikuti secara langsung di Zoom ini ataupun yang ikut live streaming di YouTube, karena untuk event kita mungkin pesertanya ada terbatas. Nanti kita coba buat event-event yang pesertanya lebih banyak lagi. Terus yang terakhir, kami ucapkan terima kasih kepada seluruh tim kerja, rekan-rekan Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia Provinsi Banten yang terus berjuang, yang terus meracik konsep dan bekerja keras untuk memberikan yang terbaik, memberikan ruangan terbaik yang luar biasa menarik juga tema-temanya, sehingga wadah-wadah webinar untuk forum diskusi seperti ini dapat terwujud dan semoga bisa terus sukses. Terima kasih untuk bulan Juni, konsep urban kita selesai di minggu ini. Mungkin minggu depan sudah masuk ke bulan Juli, ada tema lain lagi. Tunggu acara-acara selanjutnya dari kami dan silakan mengikuti. Demikian saya rasa Bu Nindya untuk sedikit kata-kata penutup dari kami. Kurang lebihnya mohon maaf. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih Bang Bilian untuk sambutannya. Dan langsung saja kita sapa moderator Mbak Tatyana. Selamat sore.
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us here. My name is Tatyana, as the member of IAI Banten. We welcome you to the Design Online Forum series titled Approaches to Co-Create and Regenerated Urbanscape. This event will be recording and broadcast in YouTube Live as well. Question and any discussion would be important for us, so please raise hand or write down the questions on the chat box. Here is a slight background about our speaker. Yossapon Boonson is a Thai landscape architect and the director of SHMA Company Limited. Graduated from Chulalongkorn University, Thailand, with Bachelor of Landscape Architecture and received Master degree in Master of Art in Urban Management and Architectural Design from University of Wales, Domus Academy Milan. And SHMA Company Limited is a landscape architectural design and research practice with wide range of projects from public park up to commercial across Thailand and Asia Pacific, and has been awarded in international festival, competition, and exhibitions such as Smart City at IAI Architecture Forum in Berlin, Germany in 2013, or even Floating Park at Bangkok Design Week in Thailand in 2018. And also shortlist in World Architecture Festival in 2013. Maybe that's it. It will be exciting to hear Yossapon point of view regarding this urbanscape. So I would like to welcome to Yossapon, and I hand over the picture.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yes, sure. I'm very honored to be invited and enjoy the session. So I think I would like to share some of my thought and my work in regenerating the city. So I will start with showing you guys with the slide. Can you see my slide? Yes. Okay. So the lecture, the discussion today that we would like to share with you is about reimagine our city through public space. I think public space has always been the critical part in our city or in our environment. But I think with this ongoing circumstance and crisis from climate change to the current one of pandemic, I think we're gonna relook again of what will be the role of the public space in the future. So I think the situation that we are facing is more like the disruption that creating the new kind of the circumstance, or somebody mentioned about this word of new normal. So I think we have been facing the same situation. And I think this is the image of Bangkok during the lockdown. And we just recently opened up the city, but I'm not so sure whether when it will come back again. So I think this on and off kind of the city lockdown and open up will be the new kind of the new normal. But during the lockdown, I think we also experiencing some kind of the signal of another scenario that when the city is has a limitation of the people activity, it's opened up another kind of the situation. For example, people have more time to spend in their neighborhood because you can't go around in the city. For example, myself, I can do the jogging in my neighborhood, and people really enjoy using the small public space in their neighborhood as well. And most of the time, people start to work from home. It becomes a new kind of normal. And then people start to looking into the possibilities in turning some of the abandoned land into the urban farming, because I think the food security. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Yes, Yossapon, we can hear your voice.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay. Should I start all over again?
No, you can start from the previous slide, from the last slide.
This one?
Yes.
Okay, sure. So this is the new kind of normal that we've been living for the past few months in Bangkok. So I think we start to looking into the role of the public space that actually creating the well-being of the people who are living in the city. And if you're looking back in our history, we can start to understand that the public realm also be part of the city starting from the Industrial Revolution. I think when London has the first pandemic is which creating from the dense kind of the bad environment. So I think they start to create the road and infrastructure and drainage system. So that infrastructure of the public infrastructure become the tools in make the people live better in the city. Or even in France, in Paris, when the city has a very condensed, cities start to create the park around the city to make sure that the living environment in the city is better. Or even in the US, I think in New York, and they start to look into the setback and to make sure that the ventilation is getting better in this kind of the environment. And people also start to looking into the possibility in start to living in the garden or having this kind of the idea that they can live in outside the city. I think, and of course, in the modern era, we start to looking into the possibilities in living within the garden or garden city, like in Singapore. So I think the relationship between the city and the well-being of the people is kind of related. So, for example, right now we are facing a lot of air pollution and people sick from living in the urban area. And we are lacking of the green space. For example, we have very little of the green space in Bangkok, and relating to also about the safety in the city and also the mental health. And a lot of study has confirmed that actually public space or the green spaces can play an important role in creating the better well-being for the people. So let's looking at
Yossapon,
yeah.
sorry, could you please turn on your camera so most of the participants could feel that you're really, we have this event on like live.
The camera?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, okay. Okay, is it better now?
I guess it is because of the gadget. No, I mean like, it's okay then.
Okay. So I will share with you of what's the Bangkok situation in relating to this public space that we've been evolving from the past. So Bangkok actually is situated in the river floodplain of the Chao Phraya floodplain area. So we're facing a lot of flooding, and Bangkok city actually is growing and in this floodplain. So imagine that the past. In the previous context, we have a lot of canal and rice field and also the orchard in receiving those seasonal flooding or seasonal water that coming from the north and from the rainy season. But at the moment, those green area has diminished or has been replaced with the concrete city. And during the flood catastrophe in 2012 is kind of showing the impact of how much urban development can creating to the well-being of the people. And this is the old picture of Bangkok. You can see that there are a lot of greenery surrounding the city core area. But at the moment, the green lung that we have is so only little in the middle and surrounded with this kind of the concrete jungle. And if you're looking at this map, it's very clear that people start to reclaim the peripheral area or the riparian area along the river. and because of the flood, so the intervention is about concrete wall to prevent the flood to flood the city. So I think that the more we develop the city, the more nature will be replaced. And of course, by replacing the public space with this concrete structure might not be the real answer to that, because it's affecting people and affecting the way of life of the people, the community. So I think we need to looking into what would be the inclusive role of the public space that can think and concern not only with for the people, but also with the natural environment at the same time. But sometimes when we talk about the public space, some of the government idea of public space is about the greenery. And this picture showing that the government has replacing the old community that settle along the city wall, the old city wall, with this greenery. So sometimes the greenery might not be the real answer for the inclusive society. I think the old community and the public realm can live side by side and have another choice in making this inclusive. And sometimes when we talk about the public space, people might think that it's about the majority. So this showing that the government always asking that if most of the people agree on the public realm or public space they're going to create in the river or in any area in the city, people will, the government will start right away without asking and concerning the minority, which might be affected by that development. So public space might not be about majority or minority. How can we ensure that both we can win with this together? And about the quality, I think we have seen this all the time in the public realm. It's more like one design that fit it all, and the attitude from the government, it seems that they doesn't really allow the people to enjoy or has a freedom in using the public space. You can see the design and also the way they design the bench that not really allow the enjoyment of the people. And of course, the greenery is one of the critical issue that facing in all the city in the urban area. On the left-hand side is a green space in India that I've been to, and on the right-hand side is just outside my office, and show that the more we develop the urban space, the first thing that we do is about removing the tree. How can we make sure that it can be combined? And I think city never been designed for the people. You can see this clearly from this picture. It's either for utilities line, or sometimes it's very narrow, or even sometimes that doesn't have the space for the people to walk in the city at all. And I think when we talk about the public space, I think we've been developing the shopping mall more than developing the park. I think we questioning whether is there possibilities in combining, or is there possibilities in investing of public realm than investing more on the urban development. This is one of the issue that we're facing in the city center, where we have a huge abandoned land in the city center, and this huge abandoned land supposed to rethink whether it should be developed as a commercial complex, or should we develop as the urban green for the city. And I think that the way we develop the city is about closing up the neighborhood. So I think on the right-hand side, it's an old neighborhood that should still be able to find in the city center. But the more we develop the city nowadays, is about closing up with the boundary wall and the concrete buildings, which has no interaction with the neighbor, or with no interaction with the nature at all. And of course, the abandoned land in the city is so much because of this kind of the gray infrastructure that passing through the city itself of the expressway. So it's left a lot of the unsafe space for the people. Then we also need to rethink what would be our role as a designer or as a landscape architect. How can we making the balance in turning the value to the commercial sector to be more value toward the public sector. And I think that the role of our for all the designer is shouldn't focus much on creating the space, but rather on the place. The picture on the top is the abandoned land, and then the government put certain amount of money and turned it into the community park. But after a while, it become abandoned again, and I think it is and on the bottom is our project that try to communicating and getting the people involved from the beginning and become like a very lovely place for the people during the design week. So we need to think about the process in making the place, not the space. And I think COVID itself or climate change itself is become like a disruption to think that actually we are in the uncertain circumstance. And what kind of the city that should we aim for in order to be able to resilience, I think, enough with all those changes, with all those challenges in terms of the social challenges and also the natural challenges. And I think right now, I think the way we develop the city from the past, if we turning the kind of the flexible city that used to be able to live with water, with nature, to be kind of the fixed and exclusion city. So I think the role of the public realm or the public space should be the tools in reclaiming the city back for the people and the nature and making the city to be more resilient. So I would like to show you our projects that we've been working with in relating to this topic of the public space. So are you guys still follow to this? Is it still all right? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I will show you this project. This is about the air quality. This picture showed actually one of our inspiration when these ladies who owned the food stall shops in Bangkok, and the customer complaining that there's a lot of mosquito. So she putting this mosquito net that normally putting for the beds and become like a really unique space for the dining. So I think during the past 2 years, I think Bangkok and I think a lot of cities in this region facing this air pollution from burning from agriculture and from the traffic and from the many particles in the air. So we developed this kind of the prototype in creating this pavilion that to make sure that people can have like the capsule or the escape or safe zone space where the people can stay inside while the city is facing the air pollution. So the idea is about creating these 3 elements. One is about the protection to make sure that the particle and air pollution can be certain screen off, and then also we can screen off some of the glare and the light from the outside environment. And of course, we would like to use this nature or the planting to be one of the tools in filter the air pollution, and also providing some of the comfort elements like air filter or the humid purifier inside. So this is all the system that we provided. So we put all the planting and the filter and also the cooling pad and also the fan to create the comfort zone inside. So this is an environment inside. So we have study of what kind of the species that can be absorb certain particle of the dust and also particle of the gas and toxic. So we have found that there are certain species that can do that task. So it becomes like the prototype that people can escape from the outside pollutions and can enjoy the fresh air, the cooling temperature, and also surrounded with this filter that constructed by the plants. So this is one of the future at one end of the pavilions. So the pavilion itself can turn into the very lively environment that creating the lively space for the people to enjoy. So I think this could can be one of the future infrastructure that all the city might need nowadays because of the air pollution that we're facing. Another challenges that we're facing is about the heat. And we are questioning whether can we turn this threat or that problems into the opportunities, since we have a lot of this hard surface everywhere in the city. What if we turn this hard surface and combining with the solar panel, and turn this and also combining with this green space, and probably we can using this as the activity space at the same time. So we're developing this pavement that combining this solar cell and also the green, and become like a new tools in turning the heat space or the hard surface into the energy space that can be benefit for enjoyment and also can turn into the energy during the night. So we got a grant from the government and we are developing the one-to-one prototype right now, and it's going to be implemented by the next 2 months. And another possibilities for the public space is about the green infrastructure. I think the flood is one of the environmental challenge that we face. So I think the role of the green space or the park can also be part of that solution in absorbing the seasonal flood during the rainy season. So we designed this park which outside the Bangkok city, which that can receive the flood from the north. So it become like a water detention area that can save the neighborhood from flooding, and it's also turned the public land into the more function and become like an educational ecological park for the people to enjoy at the same time. It's under the construction right now, and hopefully within by the end of this year it will be completed. Another topic is about the food security. I think during the pandemic, it's shown how vulnerable or how fragile we have of the urban developer who living in the city. We have to rely on the food that produced from the outside, from the countryside. I think right now people start to looking into our own asset, either the abandoned land in the city or either on the rooftop, whether it can turn into the urban farm, which can reduce this risk of the food security. And this is one of our projects in Bangkok in turning one of the rooftop of the office building into the urban farming. So it composed with these two zones. One is about the workshop area, and another one is for the farming with bench to sitting around and become like a roof garden that officer who stay in this building can enjoy, and that also inviting the public to come and learn about how to develop their own urban farm. And during the pandemic, we've been surveying the possibilities in turning our empty or abandoned park in the city center and try to convince the local government in turning this abandoned land into the urban farming. I think before that, we might thought that the park might have a role in providing the activity for the people. But during the pandemic, I think people start to rethink of what would be the new role of the public park. And not only the park and the community, this is the low-income community in city center. We have also been surveying and discovered that the community themselves turned abandoned land in the community to become like a urban farm that they can produce the vegetable and herbs to feed the community member. And some of the community has turned a very limited space inside the community into this vegetable garden, or sometimes into the mushroom farm that they, which not only feed the community but also become the new product that create a job opportunity for them. And after surveying, we discovered that there's one community that we would like to work with because I think that still has a potential in fill in with this farming, even though they have so little space. So the community themselves try to find, and then we been working with them, I think for the past 3 weeks in identifying the area that has the possibilities in turning into the farm. So we work with the kids in the community to identify what kind of the vegetable that they want to plant and how they're gonna turn that plant into their food. And so it's about a learning process with the community and our staff, and we are just finished the design, and hopefully we're gonna implement it with them in the next couple of weeks. So I think the role of the public space it can answer to the ongoing challenges that we face, and I think it can also become the tools in bringing the people to come together and have a dialogue that they never have. This is one of the project in Bangkok. It's next to the housing project. It used to be like an abandoned land, and we having the dialogue with them and asking the possibilities, that what would they would like to see, and what kind of program that they would like to have in turning this abandoned land into the community park. So with that kind of the process in getting people involved from the beginning, it has turned out to be able to find the specific program of the way they use and what time they want to use and what kind of program they want to have. And we turn that program into the kind of the terrace space in the garden. So we put all each terrace has their own activity, which ranging from the community activity for the kids, for the old people, and for the family. So normally the park that designed by the government might not have this kind of the design or the idea, but we try to make sure that the public realm itself can have a very nice and inspiring environment for the people. And I think the idea is always not only come from the designer, but it's always from the people. Once we have the tools, once we have the dialogue, a lot of interesting ideas will come out. And then we are the one who translate those ideas into the reality. But the beauty of this process is not about the design, but it's about the sense of belonging. These ladies or this auntie, she said she's very glad and proud to see this community be completed. I think this is a very meaningful word for us to learn, because I think she feels that her comments and her opinion has been respected and has been realized. I think nowadays she's become one of the committee in taking care of the park with the district officer and with the community. So I think the process itself can turn the people to become the citizen and have the sense of belonging, not only to the park, but also to our city at the same time. And this is a recently projects that we just recently finished last 2 months in turning this abandoned land underneath the expressway. Like I mentioned, that I think we have a lot of this abandoned land under the expressway everywhere, and some of the land has turned into the sport ground. But the problem of that sport ground, that it doesn't have the proper design, and it doesn't be the people space. So some of the people use, but some of the people doesn't really know what is they doesn't know about the space at all. So we come to this process in getting people, not only the community, but everyone who can be reached out, from the low-income community, high-income community, commercial area, working area, that they will come together and decide of what color that they would like to paint or to have in this sport ground. So we're using this color painting as a tool to create a dialogue, to create a conversation, and also to asking the people of what kind of the sport program that they would like to see, and what kind of the sitting and program that they would like to organize in the future if this is going to be completed. And of course, the beauty of this process is about getting the people involved, not by asking their opinion, but by asking their action in do something. Sometimes we asking them to giving helping hand in planting the trees, or this time we asking them to render or painting the mural wall that reflect the building and the story of the community. So from this abandoned and not lively, and then turn into quite a lively space nowadays by using this the color, the painting that they choose, and also the way we programmed it, and also the organizing the space with the proper sitting area, with the proper netting, and of course with the more with certain rooms for organize many possibilities activity in the future, which they can organize like a music or even the party space or even the movie space, I hope in the future. And this is the similar projects in the city center as well, in turning the abandoned space underneath the expressway into the community garden. And of course, one of the challenge that we facing in the city center is about the safety. And we organizing this program with our alliance to asking the people to survey the unsafe area in the city by asking them to go around the city and using the application to pin down the area that they think that has a potential to create the crime and become the unsafe for kids and for women and for everyone. So I think that the role of the people nowadays it has enormous interest in making the city be better. So I think it's about providing the tools, providing the dialogue, and providing the activity. And I think we can get a lot of opinion and the data by getting people involved. And from that data, we also submitting this information to the authority to make certain action of how to make the unsafe space to become the better or safe area. So another problems that the thing is facing not only in Bangkok, I guess, I think it might face in your city as well, is about the mobility. And as I said, we would like to create the space for people to walk around the city, but what we see is a very limited space, and sometimes it doesn't have a proper street furniture to respond with the people behavior. I think during the lockdown, we have seen the many possibilities that and trend that people tend to come and use more of the bicycle and use more of the pedestrian in many cities in other city. And I think this is one of the project that we would like to push with the government. And this is one of the activity that we organize. We organize like a installation in our neighborhood, and by putting the turf, real turf, and bend some of the bench. It's like a tactical urbanism in putting some elements and raising the question whether can we turn the footpath into the pocket path. Can we turn the footpath into the people and people space? And we developed that idea further for this year Design Week, which just recently finished a few months ago, by combining this idea of the various activity with the street tree. So it become like elements that encourage people to enjoy for sitting, for reading some book, or parking their bicycle, or become like a place for the people that turn the everyday elements into something special. And we hope that it can stay and can become the prototype in developing this kind of the public realm or footpath for the people in the future. And actually, we have seen this many possibilities of by turning the gray infrastructure that has a lot in the city and connecting them and creating the green link or pedestrian link. And those elements are the canal bank. We have a lot of this abandoned canal bank and walkways, space along the railways, and also the space underneath the expressway. And this is a city center that we found that has a lot of potential, because this link will be able to link various districts that actually scattered around the city center, and also be able to link the existing park that nowadays is quite difficult to enter by the bicycle or by the pedestrian, and also be able to link the transportation node in various areas. So it will encourage people to use more of the bicycle and by walking to be able to enter to different parts of the city. So those are the study and the impact that we think it can turn this into the walkway and can generate decaying community into the lively one for the people. This is one of the links that will connecting transportation node in one of the major area in the city center, and actually can go along the canal and connecting to different district area, and some of that can go through some of the shopping center, or turning some of the decaying canal into the lively one, and sometimes can go through the area underneath the expressway and turn into the linear park. I would like to talk about the river and a little bit. This is one of the movement that I've been working with for the past 5 years. 5 years ago, when the government announced this project of the promenade to be constructed along the Chao Phraya River, and we think that this is not the right project to be done because it's going to create a lot of impact to the river community. And then we formed a group called Friends of the River. And then our activity is about connecting the people and try to collecting the idea and voice this opinion out to the government. And the idea in developing the river and creating the public space at the same time is not about creating the promenade, but it's about creating the network of the green space and turning the abandoned land in the community into the park and make sure that it become like a network of the public realm. And we have also another idea in turning the boat or the barge into the floating park. So this park can become like the prototype in showing the possibility that having the public space doesn't have to be on the ground, it can be on the water as well, and turn this into like a lively space for many activities. And recently, we are looking into not only about creating the actual project or the design of the project, but it's about creating the platform. I think by working with the private sector and also by working with the government sector, we have seen certain loophole and also certain possibilities in connecting resources and turning in and combining resources and turning into the park. So we developing this platform called VPark. So VPark is a platform in creating the park for the city. And I think everyone aware of this threat in living in the city, that the more we living in the city, like what we live nowadays, with a lot of pollution and lacking of the green space, is going to make our well-being not in the good condition and make us even sick in the near future. So this is the data showing that actually we are really lacking of the green space in the city, and we really want to improve that quantity from 6.9 square meter per person to 10 square meter per person. And of course, nowadays we not only talk about the quantity, but also about the distribution. So what would be the better idea if we can have the pocket park scatter? This can be distributed everywhere in the city, that people can walk every 5 minutes or every 400 meters that can able to enter into the pocket park. And that possibilities has a potential because right now we have a lot of abandoned land left in the city center. Some is belong to the government, some belong to the private sector. And the government is going to impose the land tax policy in the near future. So the private sector and also the public sector need to turn the abandoned land into something that can benefit to the city. So what I think, by turning the abandoned land, it has a lot of potential to create a lot of good impact to the well-being of the people, and also to the economic and also to the social as well. So VPark itself is a platform in finding that abandoned land and turning that abandoned land into the pocket park. And we have working with many stakeholders from social sector to private sector and government sector. So if the private sector or the government sector may have the land, so we getting the professional to involve to create a design with the communities, and also with the help of the academic sector, we can asking the students and academic to be part of the process, because we not only about building the physical green, but also creating the community, creating the new generation who really care about the green space and the city. So this is one of the pilot projects at the moment. One of the ladies who the Bangkokian has donated this land to the city, and we asking the government to go through the VPAC process in finding the partners, doing survey, creating the workshops, and getting the public involved. And actually, we would like to do the crowdfunding at the end of the process. So this is the process that we've been working with for the past 4 to 5 months. And then we did the mock-ups to let the people having the ideas before going to be implemented in the future. So this mock-up is about the testing and prototype to getting people feedback, so the park can be improved. And then this is a final design, and we just recently submit to the government, and we're going to do the crowdfunding by the end of this year, and hopefully by middle of next year will be completed. And the platform itself also organizing activities in asking the people to become like a green fighter or surveyor in fighting abandoned land that still have in the city. And with that dialogue, with that activity, we have seen a lot of interesting idea and interesting potential that we never found it in our neighborhood. And after that activities, we also do some sketch and some kind of the discussion, and we really would like to make sure that this idea will be implemented with the government in the future. So nowadays, this platform start to grow, and we are also getting more interest from the private sector to submit the land to be developed and turn it into the pocket parks. So hopefully this platform can not only creating the park, but also creating the awareness, and also providing the better data, and also proposing the policy to the government, that the better policy in creating the park is not about the top down, but it's about the co-creating process. I think the projects that I shown you is kind of the wide range from creating the policy and getting the people involved, and also creating the sensible design to be able to respond with that need. And of course, we also working on the platform. So I think the platform itself is what we are really lacking. So I think the work that I've been doing is not only about showing the actual implementation, but also showing the process and showing the possibility of creating the platform. And I think the city nowadays, with the challenges that we face, it's really confirmed that public space has a very important role. But the role of the public space is not about recreation alone, but it has a potential to turn into like a air infrastructure, green infrastructure, or even food, mobility, and of course a social infrastructure. And if we're gonna look beyond some of the reflection that I would like to show you of this impact that the pandemic has created. I think we talk about the urban space in the past that being created after the pandemic, or sometime after the certain circumstance. So we having this infrastructure of the road out of the pandemic in London. We having the green space after the urban industrial revolution, and in Paris that we want to create a better living environment. or we have the idea of living outside the city center. I think we would like, actually now we are exploring the new possibilities. What would be the future scenario in living in the city? I think one of the possibilities is that we seeing the possibilities in not all is about overlapping cities. So we might have the different time in using the city in order to reduce the crowded area, in order to prevent the spread of the pandemic. So I think working from home is showing the possibility that we can do that. Another idea is that we're seeing the potential or possibilities in empowering and creating the micro neighborhood. So, for example, myself living in the small neighborhood during the lockdown, and we found that it can be done if we can equip with more facilities, from the food facilities, from the recreation facility. So people doesn't have to travel around the city and create a lot of pollution. So the time we spend in the traffic will be reduced, and we can spend around 15 minutes in our neighborhood to do all kinds of things, from working, shopping, recreating, and doing productions as well. So I think the 15 minutes city or micro neighborhood has been in our discussion for a while in many cities around the world. And I think this pandemic has shown the possibility that it can be created. So creating the better green transportation, that it can be reached to many facilities within 15 minutes, and providing the facility that's serving people everyday life all around. Another possibility is that what if we can turn the abandoned land in the city and make sure that there is a certain room, not only for the car, but for the people, because we need to allow the better environment to make sure that we'll be able to stay healthy and stay in the good environment in the future. So I think turning the road into the bicycle lane and turning the road into the wider pedestrian is one of the key priority. And abandoned land in the city can has a potential in serving the infrastructure that I mentioned earlier that we are lacking at the moment. So we need to start to invest in creating that infrastructure for the future. And of course, flexible city is one of the idea that during the pandemic, we can see that the park has a potential in turning into the urban farming to serve the community, or the road can be closed and turning into the bicycle lane, or the rooftop can turn into the space for producing the energy. So during the pandemic and not during the pandemic, we can see that the asset that we have in the city need to be utilized in order to make our survival and to make sure that our activity in the city will be continue in the future. So those are our ideas, and I think the topic is about creating the space for the people and the nature at the same time. And I think this is what we've been working with many stakeholders for the past 10 years, and we also exploring the new possibilities after this in the future. So thank you for having me, and please, if you have any questions, I would like to have a discussion after this.
Sure, thank you, Yossapon, for the presentation. It was really nice to see a lot of approaches and problem solving on architectural landscape.
Sure.
Let me. Sorry.
Should I stop showing
yes,
screen?
Please. So we can see your face.
Yep.
So I would like to. Is there any questions Let me see for a moment. Okay, while we are waiting for questions, I would like to ask, what is the role of landscape architect in this pandemic era? Like, I saw a lot of approaches, but most of them happen during the normal, what we call normal. But if we talk about urbanscape or public space and everything else, it is very communal, and we've been told to stay at home most of the time to isolate ourselves. So what is your role as landscape architect to deal with that?
I think our role as a landscape architect has always been about providing the solutions for the people, and find a way that how we're gonna keeping certain balance from the people requirement and also the nature requirement. And I think that the pandemic itself has shown another consequence that it's been the result in developing the city or developing the urbanization without having the nature as part of the conversation. I think, and during the pandemic, and when the people start to lock down, and I think people start to think about the nature space, the park, more than any time before. I think we can experience that the earth is cleaner without the people. So I think if we're gonna reduce the future disruption, that means we need to redesign and rethink the way we design the city or the urban, or the way we design the physical space. So I think the role of the landscape architect now, I think we need to look into whether how we're going to turn the asset, like I show you in the lecture or the slide, that actually we have a lot of assets, like abandoned land and empty space underneath the expressway or everywhere. So what if we turn that asset to be able to be the mediums or be the tools to make sure that people can live with the challenge, or live with the pandemic, or live with the climate change. I think that is our role, because, for example, we need to still be able to continue in doing many activities in the city. The park can be the tools if we decide properly. It can be the tools in providing the space for the water, and also for the people at the same time. It can mitigate this natural disaster. So I think we would like to see more of the public realm that can encourage the people to use bicycle, or having more social distance in the public space. And I think people start to think about how we're gonna do more activity outdoor area rather than crowded in the indoor environment. I think if we can look into the asset that we have closely, we will be able to find the answer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So we've got a question from Ivo Bahar Nugroho. It was mentioned that public space can act as the tools to reclaim space for people and nature. Therefore, stakeholders' involvement and management are important to design public space. I can see that the communities and the general public are involved during the design. However, when the spaces are already designed and built, how do you get feedback for continuous improvement to ensure that the public space can catch up with the developing human needs?
It's a good, interesting questions. For example, the one that we did underneath the expressway, I think the process itself allowed the community to be involved from the beginning. So once they be part of the process from the beginning, they have a sense of belonging. As I mentioned, that they formed the committee to take care of the park with the authority. So with the old model, the authority themselves will taking care of the park and people will use it, whether it's like it or not, right? And they can't adapt or utilize the park according to their need. But nowadays with that model, when the people be able to form the community with the government and taking care of the park by themselves, they can allow to organize many activities, and actually some of the park they start to design or redesign or have a certain modification of the playground to fit to their need. So I think in the design has also need to provide certain room to make improvement, and in the process also allow this kind of the dialogue or committee that allow the people to be able to take in care the park with the authority. So I think it's very important to have that process and the design that allow the involvement. Yeah.
But using participation method, it's not really easy, since we have to make sure how many percent does the public involved in the design process. You as an architect, you need to control everything and design the process from the beginning.
Of course, I think when we start with the dialogue, the community also expecting us as the profession to come out with some recommendations, because they recognize us as a profession. So, but of course, we also respect and recognize them that people know best of what's going on site and how we're gonna accommodate that. So it's about equal partner. I think we need to create that link or that trust from the beginning. So that means that when we have that trust, it's about listening to each other. So I think that dialogue will actually unfold the final solution of what will be the best answer. And during the process itself, we not always be the one who choose or select the best scheme for the community. We also having this kind of the tools in having various options that the actually community will be the one who decide of what the best for them. But actually they listen to, it's about listening to each other and learning with each other, I think.
Okay, so we've got another questions from Setiawan Ariwibowo. Oh, sorry, maybe we can share from Muhammad Akbar first. How you see pandemic on a positive note, where community resilience and social fabric play important role in response to how people adapt to the situations? Do you see this as an interim arrangement until vaccine is readily available to make people back to their routine? And also, how do you see the importance of public transport in the long term?
What was the first question again?
How do you see the community resilience and social fabric play important role until the vaccine is readily available to make people back to their routine? And also, how is the importance of public transport in the long term?
I think during the pandemic in Thailand or even in Bangkok, we have seen this phenomena where communities start to think about how they can be self-sufficiency. So we never see the urban poor that actually living in our city. So we never seen that actually we are very fragile with the food, or fragile with the way we are using the city. So that pandemic is about make the problem being surfaced and make us see the problems that we are facing clearer. And one of the solutions that the community and working among themselves or among ourselves. It's about sharing and helping with each other. So I think the social cohesion is about sharing the asset. For example, if the community has an abandoned land and it can turn into the urban farm, which can feed the community. I think this is one of the idea that surfaced during the pandemic, that actually we need to be able to self-sufficient and help with each other, not only within the community, but sometimes they share that asset of the food with their neighborhood. So I think the social cohesion is really the important tools in making sure that people can go through this pandemic. And I think if we're going to make sure that it's going to be developed in the long term, it's about the policy from the government and also the platform in how to make sure that the asset that we have in the city can be shared and can be exchanged and can be linked to create a better solutions. For example, the WePark platform is one of the initiative that we try to prove that if we can share the land and turn it into the park or urban farm, it can reduce the risk of any disaster or pandemic in the future. I think this is the thing that we need to think about. And the second question is about public transportation. I think there's also after we open up the city, Bangkok start to face the traffic jam once again. I really enjoy during the lockdown when nobody go to the office and people can enjoy the fresh air and no car on the street, and people can walk to the market or use their bicycle. But once we open up the city, it becomes business as usual again. And I think this is a lost opportunity if we're not doing something for this mobility. And I think what we propose and see in the slide is about turning the gray infrastructure in the city, which has a lot of potential to create this infrastructure that encourage people to walk and to do the bicycling, to be able to connect the community to the community or district to the district. So I think that would be the better or alternative transportation solution for the city, because nowadays we don't have that alternative. It forces people to either buy a car or using the public transportation. That's it. But the pedestrian and system or bicycle system have never been invested by the government. So I think this pandemic need to is a good sign to show that possibilities to the government and also to the people. Yeah.
Well, I actually agree with your ideas about dividing communities into small scales. So now each person have their own role to act in their communities. Like all of a sudden, some of people can do this or that or do farming and everything else and create their own communities again. Like I do agree with this pandemic as would having a positive side in our social life, perhaps.
Yeah.
And I would go to the next questions. So Indonesia's got public space since, I don't know, maybe from prehistoric era, but it's called alun-alun, so it's like a big yard in front of a castle or everything, like monument or public building or important building and so on and so forth. But this time lately, public space were used for bad things like crime, drugs transactions, or even I don't know. There's a lot of things happening these days in public space, mostly when it's getting dark. And the question is how you deal with how Thailand is actually deal with such kind of issues. how about the protection system and the security? How also you can minimize that impact by your design? How you create or developing the mindset of the citizen to use their public space in a good way or in a positive way?
The project that one of the projects that I've been working with this alliance called Safe City for Children and Women, I think it is about these issues. Actually, when we do the survey in the city, we have found that even in the city center or even in the very close to the tourist attraction or the major areas still have this unsafe zone. And I think of course, the design always been the solutions in putting the clean up the obstacle, creating the better visibilities and providing the camera or whatever and so on. But I think the good solution is about creating the neighborhood to make sure that if you have that kind of the place for the people, that they can use it along the public space or abandoned space by turning that unsafe area into the place for the people. People will start to taking care and see the benefit by themselves. But of course, each area has a certain ingredient and has a certain solution. Some of the public space can turn into the economic value, or some of the abandoned or unsafe. If we design well with the integrated well with the community, it can turn into the family space or urban farm space. But the problem is we never introduce the possibilities or the program to those assets or abandoned space in the city. So once it become like a public land or become like a nobody's land, it's become the crime and unsafe area. So I think the design has a very powerful tools in start getting people involved, creating physical design. But of course, the social issue or social cohesion or sense of belonging around that space is very important to make sure that the space can not only be safe in the long term, but also can be benefit for the people and for the overall city at the same time.
So the first thing how to make public space works, that we need to create the communities first, or by looking at the neighborhood.
I think the awareness is very important. I think what we try to do with V-Park is about communicating with the public of how important and how people can be part of this creation. And because in the past, or I think people mindset still think that the public realm is a government job, and because it's not in our backyard or it's not in our boundary. Once it's government job, and if the government doesn't do the job, it becomes the problems. So now we try to create the understanding or the new mindset that actually is everyone's job that can turn that to benefit everyone. So it's about changing mindset through the communication, through the process, and by showing the good example. But once we have that already, it's about turning that into the very smart or incentive policy to make sure that that kind of the process and collaboration can happen again and again to create and solve the problems. So I think there are many layers to be done, but I think we should start with the communicating and awareness and getting people all sides to be involved.
Well, it's kind of frustrating becoming landscape architect because you have to solve a lot of things before you're designing something. I don't know, maybe architect as well with participations method. But
But
yeah, how can you survive with that? Like it will take like maybe 6 months minimum or years.
I think it depends if some of the project is, if we're lucky, if the government understand and we got a stakeholder well informed and involved, I think it can be completed. For example, the one underneath the expressway, it finished in around within 5 or 6 months from the start. But if we go into the area that has a more complex and more dispute, it will take even longer because you need a lot of permission. But again, I think there are a good progress that people in society and even the developer or private sector start to see the value of the public space, that they try to integrate it in their development, and they try to provide the budget to help in creating the better city. Or also the mindset of government start to change. So you can see that in the past, for the past 3 to 5 years, we see a lot of new public space start to coming up in the city, and also not only in Bangkok, in other cities as well. There are a lot of movement from the people. So I think the people has a important role to push and show the possibilities with the designer, with the landscape architect, and with the environmental designers.
Sure. We like for example in here we also have a lot of movement with public parks stuff, but most of them it just doesn't work that well because of the crime and things and stuff. Maybe the government is not really helpful on help the architect to build the communities, the participation process and everything else, which is important.
I still facing the same problems like you mentioned. I think if we can find certain champion in each sector, it will be the key to form the good alliance to start with. I think even in the corrupted system, we still be able to find the good person to work with. And I think it's about creating trust. I think nowadays, when we're developing the city, we start to losing trust. People don't really trust with the government. People don't really trust with the private sector or developer. So everyone has certain perception and ideas and doesn't really work together. I think like you said, is not the easy process, but it's a long-term process and more sustainable process. If we can using the design or the public space or whatever we build as a tools in getting the people together, I think this is the ultimate goal, because there are so much potential and so much challenge and problems that we are facing, not about the public space, but there are many. If we can creating trust and creating the dialogue and working together with all the stakeholders, it will be the good solution for all the challenges we're going to face in the future.
So it's just takes time, and positively it's not impossible. It's totally possible, but you just needs to take time.
Yeah, it takes time.
So we've got another questions from Suito Chitra. Can you share in more detail the idea of crowdfunding to implement urban projects? Is it your social contribution to the city, or can it be monetized?
Can it be what? Sorry?
Monetized.
Monetize? I don't get. Can I explain? Like what?
Like can it? Sorry. Okay, can you please monetize this like being used for other purpose? Like, let me find the right words first, but you can answer the first question.
Sure. The one that we doing is the park, the pocket park. Basically, we at first we have an idea that actually people can do all the crowdfunding to create a park, right? You can donate the money for the tree, for the bench, and for everything in the park. But there are certain opinion in the society that why we need to donate the money to create the park, since we already paid tax for the government. It should be the government job, right, to create it, to create the public facilities. But of course, there are certain opinion that actually we can jump in because city has so many problems and potential. If we can share our asset and help giving a hand, it will be more succeed. So we work with this idea that we should actually government should pay a certain amount in creating a park. But of course, there are certain room that people can also co-funding. I think it will be the nice solution where everyone can share the asset. Government, of course, needs to play a bigger role in giving the asset and authorization, and of course the budget, starting budget. But of course, there are certain room to allow other donor to participate, because if we can communicate this clearly to the society that it's not about creating the park, but it's about creating the community that and possibility that everyone can be part of the city creation. And then we do that on the online platform. It will be started at the end of this year. So we categorize it different elements, different elements in the park that people can donate. Some people might donate a tree or a bench or play equipment, but the main infrastructure and the main facilities of the park will be budgeted by the government. So it's a co-funding. Yeah. But of course, I think this is not we don't have the policy or incentive policy yet, but we would like to see, and also actually working with the government, that actually the government should provide the incentive policy. People can use this payment or donation to reduce their tax or claiming for that. So I think we're still working on that model.
So to the second questions, is it pure social contribution to the city, or can it be monetized, which means that it can be used for create money?
The park, right?
Yeah.
You mean the by turning the park to create money, right? To generate income.
in a lot of way. For example, from Ivo Bahar, he told us that we can use it as commercial areas, or we can develop stages and everything else.
Understand that. At the moment, the regulation doesn't allow to open up the cafe or do that kind of things in the public park. But what we try to do is that we would like to introduce this idea to the private land, that they want to turn that into the park, because at the moment there is a certain interest from the private owner that they would like to rent it out, rent the land to the government for 5 or 10 years, and then we can manage that land by has a certain understanding or a memorandum of understanding between the donor and the government, that we can utilize that land for commercial use. But of course, the income will be only served for to cover the expense, or to manage the park. I think this is what we try to do with the private land first. And of course, the government need to amend the regulation to allow that to happen. We have seen in other city or in other country that you can turn the park into many activities and can create a lot of income. But at the moment in Bangkok, we don't have that at the moment. But we're gonna test it out for the private donor show the possibilities to the government.
Another questions from Norwin Hajadi. Does Thai government do focus group discussion (FGD) on redevelopment of the urban space in Thailand? By doing so, the grassroots aspiration could be gathered more comprehensive. Some local government did or do this previously till governor level. If yes, how often?
How often? Sorry, how often in doing what? Sorry.
Does Thailand government do the FGD on redevelopment of urban space in Thailand? And how?
How the government did, right? How
often? If yes, yeah, how often?
I don't have the information for other city, but in Bangkok we start to do this kind of urban regeneration. I'm not sure if it answer the question. We have this project 5 years ago in regenerating the internal city area, and that's why the regeneration project start to come up and be completed in this year or the next couple of years. So, but of course, we don't have that much of the public realm project happened in Bangkok. It's kind of limited, or the government not really invest in this that much. I think that's the reason why we would like to have that investment, co-investment from the private sector, which require the incentive policy to happen. Yeah. Did I answer?
Hopefully. Maybe Norwin could add some point. Okay. How about, if that about the government, how about your project itself?
About what?
About your own project. How do you do this FGD kind of things to
FGD? What's the FGD?
FGD, the focus group discussions on
okay.
to achieve the final result or final decisions.
The focus group discussion, right?
Yeah, any kind of discussions with other sector and stuff.
Yeah, I think the project that we did, I think this is the we did it quite often. I mean, from the start, because when we do this project that relating to the public realm, we need to find out first what is the circumstance and what is going on, or finding the stakeholders in the area, and start with the focus group dialogue and see whether will they have any resistance, or will they have any comments, or is there any dispute in the city in that particular area. And then we start to unfold the process and to customize the process that fit into that particular process, because to that particular area, because different area has a certain circumstance. And then after we go through that, we always come back and recheck the result. But it's not easy because some of your question mentioned also about after the design handover to the area. I mean, the process itself need to be able to identify the key stakeholders to be able to adopt this project, or be taking care of this project in the long term. Sometimes we can fight it, sometimes we can't fight it, and government still need to play the bigger role in that. So I think the process the dialogue or focus group discussion is about empowering people and stakeholders, and find out who will be the key person that we can rely on and push and giving this project for them.
Okay. Another question from Andi Wicaksono. With city becomes flexible, will city never be able anymore to shape their uniqueness, its own culture, character in the future, and start losing its identity, or flexible city is just a concept to respond to the current economic issues?
You mean the flexible city?
Yep.
If it's going to affect in the identity of the city, you mean?
Each cities has their own uniqueness and identities and history, so on and so forth. With it's become flexible, does it reduce the quality of its own identity, or let's say that's just normal, that's just okay?
I think identity need to be evolved. I believe so, because I mean, for example, right now we have many the new generations and middle old generations, and some of the new generation might not really appreciate the identity or the old way or the heritage that we have. So it doesn't about the good thing or bad thing, but I think city is about evolving, and the flexibility, I think it is in a good approach where it allows people to adapt the space and allow the space to be able to respond with the emerging need and behavior. Because the city, I think importantly, the city need to belong to the people of the current time, right? I think if we can provide the system and the space that allow that to surface and create a dialogue and form the identity by themselves, I think it's a good thing. But of course, the dialogue need to include everyone. You can't develop your own city identity by excluding certain group of the people. So I think the flexibility is a good thing to happen in the city.
I know by being flexible, it can accommodate a lot of its citizens as well. Like, yeah, it will be fun.
Yeah.
So another question from Hendrik Poltak. How do you see space making these days, and what is your suggestion to improve it, especially maybe after the pandemic?
You mean the space making in the public realm, right?
Yes.
For the past 2 or 3 years, people start to get comfortable in interacting with the city space. I'm not sure what's the reason. For example, when we organize the design week and turning the street into the space for concert or exhibition, and people start to interact and comfortable with that, which I think is a good thing, because the consequence of that placemaking has a certain good impact to the community and to the city, because it generates a lot of traffic for the business and show the possibility of many the good thing to happen for public space and recreation space. But the downside of that is that how we're gonna turn that event or interim scheme into the reality or permanent scheme, because of course placemaking might be the good stimulation or good starting point in start the conversation and getting people to interact with the city. But of course we need to turn that interim into the reality and maintain and sustain in the long term. We have not succeed in that stage yet, but we quite success in creating the dialogue with the people in the city. But of course, we need to work more on that to turn that placemaking process and turn it into the actual one.
the funny thing in here when COVID happening is most of people all of a sudden really active and doing sports,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're consciously activating places. So I don't know, maybe because of the COVID-19 and they just have to stay at home, all of the places all of a sudden just happen.
Yeah.
But the places like shopping malls and stuff, maybe they're just shutting down. So maybe there's a shifting trends when people no longer using indoors, but they're starting using outdoors.
Yeah. I'm not sure what I think is like you mentioned is part of the pandemic when people be locked down in the house and then they would like to see the new possibilities out of this pandemic and see more potential with the city. We just recently got a call from the university to create an outdoor cinema in the space underneath the expressway. So this is kind of the phenomena as well of something that probably we can learn from other city, and then we would like to try on in our own way. And then we are working with that idea with the students. I think that the interim scheme of placemaking is a good start, like I mentioned, and then, but the thing is, I think the government themselves need to creative enough to allow this to happen, because with the current regulation and rules, the road cannot be closed or the space on the expressway cannot be used. Those kind of things might diminish or dilute the aspiration of people that they would like to see out of this pandemic.
Or even people start being creative all of a sudden and using abandoned space that you told before.
Yeah, but the challenge is that, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, the government needs to make sure that this COVID-19 won't be exaggerated or even spreading even more because of all of these kind of activities.
Yeah, they have the certain rules, and of course. But right now the government has the big amount of budget to generate economic. I'm not sure whether is it the same thing in your country.
Yes.
Yeah, the same, right? But so far, most of the budget has been focusing in generate the income, which is important. But of course, we haven't seen the budget that spent to improve the environment and the green infrastructure or public space that much. So I think that the mindset of the government, or I'm not sure whether in my city or in other city too, they never seen the public realm as the strategic tools or elements that it can create impact to many area, right? Environmental, social, economic, or health. If they see that as a strategic elements, they will spend on public realm with certain purpose, not like this. Right now, they spend in cutting more road or creating the concrete embankment, which actually in opposite is destroying and is going to come back again to create another pandemic or another catastrophe. So it's not a good or smart way in regenerating the new city or the new era of the development after the pandemic.
Sure. And also we've got questions. How to from Hotma Toruan, how we build ideal public space.
Ideal?
Ideal.
How to build it?
Yeah, I'm also wondering around how to build the ideal one. Maybe it needs to be contextual. I don't know.
I think it's what we try to do as a VPark platform, because I think before that we seen not the ideal one, where the public space designed by the government with a top-down process and doesn't really inspiring in terms of design and doesn't have the sense of belonging. This is not the ideal one. And then the reason why we create this VPark platform, because we would like to create the ideal one, not only in terms of design, but in terms of the process where everyone involved. So that's why we call it a VPark, not involved only from giving the opinion, but also giving hand or giving certain asset, whether it's money or ideas or helping in constructing. So I think this is the ideal process. I think the ideal space or physical design, I don't think is the issue, because people have so many creativities, idea, and has a possibility in turning into the reality. But I think that the process in creating the park and using the park as a tools in getting people as a same society to gain back the sense of belonging to the city, I think this is the ideal one that we would like to see. And of course, we have seen some of that success story in other projects that been doing before in my country or in other city, and we would like to make it happen here, or make it even fit in and even better, and make it in the long term. Yeah, this is the ideal one.
So there will be any rule of thumb for that?
No, I think the involvement, I still believe that the dialogue and involvement is the key, but the details of that, how we're gonna construct, how we're gonna form the process, I think is kind of the customized to the certain ecology, certain requirement. But we need to be keeping informed and keeping everyone involved, because of course, like I show you in the slide, I used to be an activist, and I used to confront with the government, and I have seen that confrontation, it never worked. And of course, the design doesn't be the only solution. You need the policy process and every instrument to come together. That is the key, I guess. And we don't have the ready-made or powerful tool or powerful instrument yet. So that's why I think giving, if everyone can share and having the dialogue and involvement, I think it will close the loophole and make it really happen.
Okay, maybe one more questions. For the crowded cities such as Indonesia, there are no many abandoned lands. So are there any other solution to make a public space? But this one question from Nadia Bella, but I'm not really sure if we have no abandoned lands. But yeah, maybe for this case, can we just think about?
I'm not sure whether it might be the same situation in Bangkok. We have the CBD as well. There's one solution is that we try to integrate the public realm in the new development. I think in other city and also in my city, the government tried to come out with the incentive policy that if you allow the area to be opened for the public, you will be able to build more, that kind of things. I think it happened in Singapore, in other city already, those kind of incentive. But right now we do the data to analyze the abandoned land in the city center. But surprisingly, we found that there are still certain amount of the abandoned land, because the owner doesn't have the right time to develop it yet. And now because of the government tax, they need to release that land. So that's why we still have seen that possibilities. Or even during this pandemic, the economy is not in a good shape. So the developer might be able to release a certain land bank that cannot be developed at this time. So while waiting for the next 3 to 5 years, why don't turn that to benefit to the people and to the city? So we are having that request at the moment. So I think there are certain possibilities even in the city area. And of course, we also asking the possibility from the roof, not abandoned roof, but of course the rooftop of many buildings in the city never been used. We just recently talked to the owner of the hotel chain. So I think that has a potential if we can link the asset of what we found with the person who has a know-how and ability to design and to maintain and the authorization of the government. I think it can even happen. Yeah.
So maybe one last question from Heri Nurtaher Priyana. What do you think about utilizing a space under highway elevated road?
What's the question?
What do you think about utilizing the space under the highway road? Like in Indonesia, it's really common, but in informal way. So as you mentioned in your presentation, what do you think about that? Like, what is the potential? Maybe you have turned it into a sports field. Yeah,
we have done the study, and then we found that some of the project can be succeed, but some of the project has cannot be succeed because it depends on the area. And I think what we try to propose to the government is that you can develop as a small pieces of that area underneath the expressway. It would be much better if it can be link it up to that can be integrated to the surrounding neighborhood and facilities, because it needs to work together between the landscape, the urban and the district and the architecture. So to create a total environment, as I said, is a part of the infrastructure. If you can't create that kind of the link or system, it wouldn't be succeed. It will be just another park that it can be much more can create much more potential out of that. And I think we try to link them up, and then we start to talk with the stakeholders to make it happen. But it can turn into many ways for commercial, for park, for recreation, and right now I mentioned they would like to turn into the cultural space for cinema and cultural activities. So the problems, another problems is that we need someone or some organization to curate the program. Most of the time, you spend so much money to invest and turn it into the nice space, but how you're going to utilize it is very important, because if you don't utilize it well, it will come back into the abandoned space once again, right? And as I mentioned, that community has a certain role to play in create the program and maintaining it, but they have the limited resources and power. But if you can link that space, as somebody already asked about the possibility for the commercial use or turn it into the concert hall or whatever, I think it will open up more possibilities that not only the neighborhood can be benefited, but city can be benefit from. I think we need to see that to develop the hardware and software at the same time.
Definitely agree. Since we've got project in here like park beneath the highway road, but it doesn't work that well because it has no integration with the surroundings or even the communities. Somehow the architects just work with their own worlds without really understanding what the communities needs. Okay, maybe what we can, thank you Yossapon for the inspiring discussions this afternoon.
Thank you.
Maybe what we can see that whether we are architect or landscape architect, once we are involved with public, we need to to have involvement with other sector as well and collaborate with communities and maybe the government as the main stakeholder. And therefore, maybe there's no shortcuts if you want to have a nice public project or urbanscape. And also, maybe the importance of public participation in public project, how to gain trust and how to develop or open dialogue between the architect and other stakeholder and sectors, and how we start to listen, whether as an architect, how we start to the material, to the clients, and maybe how important is the community itself in the public project. And also being creative, it's much more important to think about the possibilities of the abandoned land and reuse the empty space and so on and so forth. Maybe that's it from me. I would like to thank you again for Yossapon and everyone, and hope everyone would have a wonderful evening. I'll give it back to Nindya.
Thank you. Terima kasih, Mbak Tatyana. And we also want to thank Mr. Yossapon Boonson for sharing his knowledge with all of us. Thank you, Mr. Yossapon. We wish you good health and success for all your work.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
And hope to have further more discussion in the next opportunities, and hopefully we might be able to collaborate or develop or do something together. I think we share the same challenge and also the same aspiration and same vision to create a better society. So hopefully we can work toward that together in the near future. So thank you for having me for this wonderful afternoon, and hope to see you again. Thank you.
Okay. Terima kasih untuk rekan-rekan semua, dan kami ingin berterima kasih juga kepada rekan mitra Ultrachem Construction Chemicals yang di awal acara telah membuka dengan pemutaran video produknya dan telah mensupport IAI Banten selama acara Trilogy Design Urban. Kami persilahkan kepada Bapak Adi Lukman Syarif dari Ultrachem Construction Chemicals untuk memberikan 1-2 patah kata.
Ya, selamat sore semuanya. Terima kasih kepada Mbak Nindya. Suara saya jelas, Mbak?
Jelas Pak.
Iya, terima kasih semuanya kepada IAI Banten. Saya Adi Lukman Syarif, mewakili Ultrachem Chemical Construction. Di sini mendukung penuh acara ini berlangsung. Alhamdulillah, Mbak, acaranya bisa dibilang sukses, sangat lancar. Di sini acaranya sangat positif, membagi banyak ilmu-ilmu baru, diskusi yang positif. Di sini saya mengucapkan sukses selalu, banyak-banyak terima kasih kepada semuanya, terutama IAI Banten. Semoga silaturahmi kita bukan hanya sampai di sini aja, Mbak ya. Mungkin ada cara selanjutnya yang masih bisa kita support, kami bisa support. Ya, mungkin sekian aja dari saya. Saya selaku mewakili dari Ultrachem. Terima kasih banyak. Selamat sore semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Adi Lukman.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih atas semua partisipasi rekan-rekannya yang sudah semangat ngikutin dari awal hingga sore. Selanjutnya untuk sertifikat akan kami kirimkan melalui email dan hanya akan diberikan bagi rekan-rekan yang sudah mengisi link presensi pada chat Zoom dan chat YouTube yang sudah dikirimkan panitia. Jadi pastikan sekali lagi rekan-rekan sudah mengisi ya. Rekan-rekan mohon diaktifin lagi kameranya semua supaya wajah kita terlihat karena dari panitia akan melakukan sesi foto bersama. Terima kasih. Rekan-rekan semua, seperti yang sudah disampaikan oleh Bang Bilian di awal acara tadi, IAI Banten akan mengadakan beberapa agenda pada bulan Juni hingga Juli. Kepada Mbak Vera, mohon bantuannya untuk menampilkan slide agenda. Adapun ya acara, saya bisa bacakan ya. Adapun acara-acara yang IAI Banten akan selenggarakan adalah pendaftaran anggota baru tanggal 8 Juni sampai 2 Juli 2020, kemudian penataran kode etik arsitek dan kaidah tata laku profesi arsitek pada hari Jumat tanggal 3 Juli 2020. Penataran keprofesian strata 1 dan 2 akan diselenggarakan hari Sabtu tanggal 4 Juli. Dan keprofesian strata 3 dan 4 akan diselenggarakan hari Minggu tanggal 5 Juli. Bagi rekan-rekan yang ingin mendaftar, dapat masuk ke link yang tertera atau bisa menghubungi pengurus IAI Banten melalui nomor WhatsApp untuk informasi lebih lanjut. Nomor WhatsApp-nya terlihat jelas ya di layar. Nah, sampailah kita pada penghujung acara forum desain yang ke-6 sore ini. Atas nama pengurus IAI Banten dan seluruh panitia yang bertugas, Vera sebagai host, Leonardo sebagai penanggung jawab acara, Rona Asakra sebagai co-host 2, dan saya Nindya selaku MC, kami pamit undur diri. Terima kasih semuanya dan sampai berjumpa dalam acara IAI Banten selanjutnya. Salam sehat selalu. Terima kasih.